Hi, Billy.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining me today. Really good to see you. And obviously, I've known you for a few years now, and you are the LinkedIn expert, in my opinion. You're obviously very well networked, and LinkedIn has played a big part in that, as you've shared with me before. So, yeah, really excited to hear your sort of point of view on this. So, do you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself first, get us going, who you are?
Absolutely. So currently I'm the CFO for Milk and More, which is a doorstep delivery e-commerce business that really focuses on sustainability and helping people live and eat well, but with convenience. Previous to that, I was the finance director for the Selfridges digital business, and then previous to that worked for Walgreens Boots Alliance, so logistics, pre-wholesale, wholesale in a kind of European context. But retail in my early years, Marks and Spencer's, Debenhams, but been finance through and through, but quite operationally focused finance. Really enjoy businesses, end consumer, and working in that space.
Brilliant, thank you. And so you use LinkedIn a lot and obviously have done throughout your career. So what do you use LinkedIn for?
Well, I think we have to remember LinkedIn is still a social platform. So anything in the social media space needs to be used with a degree of caution. It genuinely does, but it can also be incredibly effective. I started using it because in the very early days when it came up, you suddenly realise it's the way of getting your CV. If you're a candidate or you're looking to connect with people and are looking for a role primarily, how do you get your CV to thousands of people through one medium rather than having to try and go through several or meet hundreds and hundreds of recruitment consultants to get the same coverage? So I think as I learned a bit about it earlier in my career and you started to realise that that was one form of the platform, I think that's when it first came onto my radar and put a lot of effort therefore into building almost like your shop front of who you are, that it kind of showcases everything there. If you're a bit tech savvy and understand a little bit about how keywords work and searches, making sure that all the key skills are in there helps you then get onto people's radar because it is used as a search tool by people, whether it's recruiters or whether it's businesses looking to either connect or find candidates. So that's what I used it for in its very early days. And I think it's still incredibly effective for that but you do have to invest time and effort into using it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we use LinkedIn every day in our work, but I guess a lot of people perhaps don't realise the value it can hold. So I guess how has LinkedIn helped you broaden your network over the years?
So I think there's two ways it can be used. First of all, there's lots of abilities to follow. So whereas, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people use Facebook. I'm a Facebook user myself, but it's more harmless scrolling of friends and family and what's going on. But sometimes you need something a bit more intellectually stimulating while you're on your train ride into work. So whether it's, your Deloitte's, your KPMG's, your EY's, following companies like that, whether it's big companies you're just interested in, but also some of the big or more boutique recruiters that tend to do research and analysis and share that. There's lots of information being shared that I think is really good to read and learn a bit about. There's lots of economics stuff as well. So Richard Lynn does a really great kind of economics update, so I follow him. So it's helped me, I think, keep abreast of lots of different topics going on, themes that are emerging in big, whether it's retail markets or other markets. So I think it's helped broaden my knowledge base, but in terms of then broadening my network itself, as you start to follow companies, you get to learn key individuals, and people then have their own platforms on there. So the CEO of certain retailers, some of them are real individuals with their own thoughts and put those things out there. So it starts as a bit of a learning, and then actually you meet someone at an event and you follow up that meetup instead of by email, or you follow it up through LinkedIn, can connect with each other, learn a bit about each other. Then you learn what they like and what they're doing, and it just kind of snowballs from there because you end up with mutual connections. So I think it's just one of several tools for you to get to meet people, whether it's in your profession, so finance directors, people who want to become finance directors, or whether it's retail, if you're in the retail space, or it could be in any other space. You do it in person at events, you can do it through LinkedIn and following and understanding and talking, and then you can do good old fashioned email. So you've got different ways to connect with people and just learn and grow, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do it so well, as we've talked about, before. But I guess some people might not understand what impact LinkedIn can actually have on your professional brand. What even is a professional brand? But actually, in your opinion, how can LinkedIn impact your professional brand?
You do, as I said at the beginning, it's still a form of social media, so you do have to use it with caution. Once something is out there, it's out there. You people say you can delete things, you can edit them, you can change them, but a screenshot says 1,000 words, right? So if we start with the negative and move on to the positive, you just have to know the difference between authenticity and being a bit reckless. So if you're having a bad day, if you feel you've been treated badly at work, if you feel like you've had a difficult conversation, if you think something's not quite right, LinkedIn's probably not the platform for that kind of rant. And it's not that you're not being authentic by not putting it on there, but always think to yourself, if you're going to put something on a platform like that, would I want this read out in a room full of strangers and people I know while I'm sat there? That's kind of quite a good rule of thumb, whether you're sending an email or typing something up to be published. It doesn't mean don't be authentic. So if you feel really strongly about a particular movement, a particular topic, if you feel like there's some kind of injustice, and it's really a core part of who you are, and actually it is who you live and breathe every day, then there shouldn't be a conflict with your place of work, the people you're connected with. It's just part of who you are and part of what you want to support. And I think that's absolutely fine and the right thing to do. I think sort of daily rants about personal things, I think can be a bit destructive to your brand, because actually you're many different facets. And if you only show one side, people won't balance that up with maybe all of the other things that you've got. So it's just being careful that you give your full, broad self. It is a professional networking forum. It is a professional brand that you're creating on LinkedIn. And some people like to share some personal things, and that's fine. They bring their whole selves to work, of course. That's up to them how they want to use it. But I do read some every now and again and think, well, I'm not sure you appreciate how that's coming across, and might actually undo some really amazing posts you've done supporting spaces, movements, thoughts, things that you've got to share. So yeah, it is still a forum that's out there that you need to be aware of what you post.
And I guess you absolutely covered there some of the downsides, I guess, of LinkedIn. From your experience, what have been some of the positives, I guess, from, if you look at how LinkedIn can have a positive impact on your professional brand, what would you say about that?
I think what I've been really amazed by is, as you grow your network, whether it's through in person or through LinkedIn, and if you take the time to follow it up, you do have to invest in it. I find people incredibly generous with their time and with their willingness to share. So even just a really recent example, I think as a result of being in a couple of different spaces at the moment and sort of moving through my career, where I've had 4 approaches about NED roles in the last, I think it's 3 weeks. And although I have one, and that's coming to an end, I thought before I make that next choice, I'd actually quite like to speak to a few different chairmen or a few different people with NED roles, because they really vary in responsibility, they vary in salary offered, really, really different. And so I just popped a post on LinkedIn. And also you need to learn the algorithm side of things, which is, if people like it, it will then be shared to all of their network. And if someone there likes it, so if somebody likes that, it really permeates. So requesting that people do that is normally what goes on to post that I find quite important. And I've had 5 or 6 really senior chairmen of some really amazing brands reach out in the last 2 days to say, if you just want half an hour of my time, I'm really happy to talk to you about my experience, what I would look for in certain spaces. And I've also had a couple of NEDs, again, of really impressive brands that have just offered up their time for a bit of a chat. And I just think that's really incredible. But I think if it's someone you don't know and they've seen your profile and they have a quick scan, they may not do that if you've not had a good shop window. It's effectively what it is, right? It's the shop window into who you are as an individual, a professional. So I think there's some huge positives about if you use it well, and if you use it like a good professional tool, you can get real benefits out the back of it.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing that you've had that response. And I guess, yeah, I think a lot of people don't realise the impact that LinkedIn can have. And like you say, having that shop window, having it up to date, even if you're not looking for a role, I think actually even as a hiring manager, LinkedIn, is absolutely essential. As a candidate, you will always look at somebody's LinkedIn profile first when you're going for interviews. So I guess just out of interest from that side of things, what advice could you give to people in terms of investing into LinkedIn, both as a candidate, but also actually possibly as a hiring manager as well?
Yeah. Well, I think you've touched on it there, which is, first of all, make sure that yours is up to date and it really reflects who you are. And as you go further in your career, you can start to kind of shorten down some of the earlier pieces and make sure that you're bringing out your key skills, but also your key interests. If you're particularly passionate about certain industries or certain things like ESG, that should come out in that first part of your profile. I find it incredibly helpful for recruitment, for either candidate research or for looking up a business. I do like, if I'm thinking of moving roles to a different business, part of my research about that business is through their LinkedIn, what they put out there, what they stand for. So I think as a candidate, making sure you're not looking just at the individuals, but also at the brand itself and how it portrays itself is very important. I work really closely with a number of, people in the recruitment space, building friendships over years. If you do a lot of recruitment, you get to work with a number of people in that space, but also as a candidate and moving around between roles from time to time. And I think there's a really nice blend where you can get some really good connections and direct recruitment through LinkedIn, but also when there's a real professional space that needs support, there's some really great agencies that use LinkedIn incredibly well. So it's your job, if you're looking for a role, to get onto their radar. And all the big recruiters that are really good at their jobs, like yourselves, have got a good presence on there. They share some really good data and insight. They're very open to requests. So again, you do have to do some of the work as a candidate or as a hiring manager. You do need to put that effort in to checking your profile's good, checking the profile of your business is good, and actively reaching out to those people in those specialist areas of recruitment that can help. So it takes a bit of effort, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. No, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight today. And, as I said at the start, you are someone who uses LinkedIn very well, and you've clearly had some success even recently off the back of it, which is brilliant. And I guess hopefully this can showcase to people the importance of it, but actually also, I guess, the wins that are associated and that enhancing your professional brand as well. So thank you for your time, Billy. Appreciate it.
No problem. Nice to speak to you as always.